Uh, I'm going to go around the room, and if you have something you would like to speak to the commission about, I'll consider that moving down to public comments. Individuals who wish to make comments regarding items not listed on the agenda must be first recognized by the presiding commissioner. So I will do that, and I'll start over here. So Dean, do you have anything you would like to bring to the commission's attention?
Yes, I have a question in reference to, well, probably the hottest topic in the room, uh, the tax evaluation on our properties. The Missouri Tax Commission, as I understood, sent the letter, the one that I read. Who established this tax commission, and have we made an appeal to them in order to get a stop to this so our taxes don't get raised?
So Dean, let me address that. And the first part of your question was who established the Missouri Tax Commission.
Okay.
I can't answer that or shouldn't answer that at this point. That would probably be directed to our elected officials in Jefferson City. And it's probably well established, and goes back, I'm sure, decades. Okay. But what I can speak to, and what I'd like everyone to hear that is interested in the assessment process, here's what I would want you to hear from me, and I believe from the commission. We have a locally elected assessor that is taking an oath to fulfill the duties of that office. And that office is responsible for establishing the assessed evaluation of all parcels, and I believe there's about 22,000, and Julie's not here to help me with that, but I believe there's about 22,000 parcels that have to be set each reassessment, actually each year, particularly reassessment year. Those have to be evaluated. So that elected official is doing their job. None of us in this room would sell our home for what the assessed valuation is. So that's only one part of this, okay? So you have the assessor that fulfills their responsibility and their duty, okay? They establish the value of our home based upon trying to equalize that among comparables. So if you and I live in a similar home, we should be assessed the same value, okay? Now the next part of that would be, I think, maybe more directly in response to your question about taxes, okay? So then that assessed evaluation is processed. It is sent to the collector. And then you have your political subdivisions, and this is an important part of this. You have your political subdivisions that have voter-approved levies. All those levies have been approved by the voter, whether it's the health department, the library, whether it's the school, whether it's the county, whoever that might be. Those are voter-approved levies, and that is what establishes your tax liability for that year. Okay. Now, if you disagree with any of that, there is a process that's well established. So if you've received a notice of an increase in assessed valuation, and if you live in Laclede County and you're in this room and you own property, you've probably got that letter, right? Everybody's shaking their heads. Okay, so there's a process, and so the assessor will would like you to call her office. So if you do not agree with her evaluation, then please contact our local elected county assessor. She'll have that conversation with you. Then if you disagree, the next step is there's what's called the Board of Equalization. And that consists of the 3 commissioners, our county surveyor, 2 private citizens, and I'm leaving 1 out. I think there's 6. Then you can call the county clerk's office, and you can ask to come before that Board of Equalization with all of your facts that would make your case that the valuation is overstated and you would like the Board of Equalization to reconsider that and make a ruling. If you don't like the ruling of the Board of Equalization, then you can take it to the Missouri Tax Commission. And then they will hear that, and they would be the final authority on the contested amount that you believe, or anyone in the room would believe, that it should be adjusted down to. If there was another part of that question, Dean, let me know. But what I want to do is kind of set the framework for the discussion so that everyone understands how the process works. You do have the appeal process. All the levies are voter approved. And I believe the elected officials in all their capacities take their oath of office seriously, whether that's the gentleman here, whether that's your local school board, whether that's your library trustees, whoever's elected in those positions, I believe are taking their oath seriously, and they want to administer that as is statutorily driven. And that's what I always come back to. What do the statutes tell me? Okay? And so I'll stop there. Dean, did you have any other?
So there's been no appeal to the tax commission from our local authorities?
So let me give you a little background on that, and the answer is yes.
Okay.
Okay. Was it successful? No. Okay. And Dean, this so back probably a couple of months ago, we were made aware of from our county assessor that she had received an MOU from the Missouri State Tax Commission, and that MOU directed the assessors in approximately 80 counties. So this is not unique to Laclede County. That letter was sent out to approximately 80 counties, and in my thoughts, I think the state tax commission was holding a gun to the heads of the county assessors, and they are forcing them to raise the valuation. So we were not alone here in Laclede County. In fact, for a very brief time, the state tax commission withheld $15,000 from our assessment fund for work already performed. Okay, but you take an oath of office, you push back, you disagree, but you have a job to do. So that MOU was signed, and so what originally was to be like maybe a much larger increase, it was finally accepted that a smaller increase would work for this reassessment cycle. And I say this reassessment cycle. So, so the answer to your question, there was pushback, and everything that could be done from the local level, Dean, I have full confidence was done.
So our next question needs to go to Jeff Knight.
And I can tell you that there have been conversations amongst assessors, including our own, that was originated as a result of this, probably here in Laclede County, and those discussions have been taking place. There's other elements of this, but I'm going to stop there and see if there's any other questions. Okay.
You said a levy for like road and bridge and different things like this, or wherever you're living. You said the schools, the library, different things like this set the levies there. Is there any appeal process in there? And when will the new levies be set?
Yeah, so I think, Howard, that we know, and I think because we see it every year because we as a body establish our levy. That takes place in August. So all political subdivisions prior to establishing their levy, they have a public hearing. And at that public hearing, that would enable those who want their voice to be heard would be to share their thoughts, their voice with those bodies, whether it's your local school board, whether it's the county commission, whether it's the health department, uh, whether it's the library, a special road district, a rural fire department. August is the time that your voice can be heard again in the setting of that levy.
Okay. And senior homes, if you're on the senior home tax, what is this?
The senior tax credit,
That stays the same. That does not affect.
it does not affect it at all. In fact, the senior tax credit, whatever dollar that amount is, that is viewed as revenue by the political subdivision. So it's not a subtraction of revenue. It is viewed as revenue for that political subdivision. Even though they don't receive that amount, the language in the Senate bills 190 and 756, the statutory provisions, this is counted as revenue, and I believe it's chapter 137 in state statutes. In that process, that'll give me a segue to speak to our senior tax freeze. This is our second year. For those who are eligible, you have until May 30th to apply. Qualifications are you have to be 62 years of age, you have to own the property, you have to live on the property, and you have to have the taxes paid on the property. And then that application is very straightforward. They're reviewed, and if someone doesn't qualify, that individual is notified with the reason why. And I will say this has driven up the number of applications that we're receiving as a result of a reassessment cycle. So if you have friends and neighbors and moms and dads and aunts and uncles and individuals that you believe qualify, please send them in by May 30th. Susie?
Thank you, and thank you guys for hearing this out. I want to address this in a little bit different way. I called Jeff Knight. Jeff Knight said there was a specific bill that said, or ordinance, I'm not sure which one it was, it said that the taxes could not be raised by over 5% or the amount of inflation for the year. Well, we far exceeded that. It says the only way that we can fight this is to go to the school board, ask the school board to talk with the superintendent, see if the superintendent can roll back the levy that we voted in. And he can roll it back to 2.75, and currently it's at 4.79, I believe. That is our only hope right now. That won't save a lot, but it will save some. And every person in Laclede County that owns a property needs that savings. So anyone that's here right now, that may be our only option. And I'm grateful for you guys because I know you're trying to help us too to figure this thing out. And if you can come up with anything else, we're all ears.
Susie, thank you. Let me speak to that, and I'm going to get in the weeds just a little bit, okay? So there are qualifiers there that have to be met when those levies are set. In the case of the school districts, they establish their levy based upon a pro forma, okay? And that's probably where we need to start as we look at that and what the Hancock Amendment says, because it is CPI or 5%. But we know they get new construction, right?
Yes.
And they always have, and that's the way it's well established. I've also learned that the surtax is excluded from the pro forma. So the surtax that is collected by the political subdivisions That comes off the top essentially. So that's going to impact where that levy could be adjusted to. And then the debt service levy is excluded as well. And then there are provisions as to how they set their operating levy. So what may be on the surface very obvious that we have let's say a 12 or 13 or 15% increase, we can't take that and use that to reduce the levy. We have to take into the provisions that allow them to establish their levy. Now, should it be rolled back, that will be up to that body, okay? But that's where your voice can be heard. So that's your opportunity, again, to Howard's point, when does that happen? And that happens in August. And if you're not sure, contact the political subdivisions individually. And I'm sure it'd be in our local media as well. We have some media present today. Maybe they can push out some information later. The chamber's here. Maybe they would want to push out those dates as well.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes, you may.
Okay, the other thing that I want to express here, and hopefully there'll be a lot of people investigate this, because I'm not an investigator, this is just things I've learned. The budget for 25-26 was already pretty well determined, however they have not voted on it. The assessments could not have been figured in that budget. Therefore, when they do that budget, they're going to have extra money anyway because it was not calculated out in that budget. If that's the case, then there should be able to be a rollback without it being a major deal to the school, because that would be unaccounted money that they did not put in their budget.
That's a true statement. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susie.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on the assessment cycle and the impact of that on your tax liability?